Assalamu alaikum everyone, my name is Rifat Hussain and this is our first official show of the Muslim View and I will be your co-host for this evening. Today I would like to welcome Mr. Hisham Slim. He is one of the founding members of the Islamic Center. On today's show we'll be interviewing Mr. Hisham Slim. He is one of the founding members of the Islamic Center, and as we had presented to you last month, we will be focusing on each founding member of the Islamic Center on a monthly basis to complete the series of all 7 or 8 founding members. Okay, without any further introduction, I would like to introduce you to Ammu Hisham Slim. Assalamu alaikum Ammu, welcome to the show. Now, as everybody knows, you haven't been in London all your life, most of your life, but I know, and some of the people here in London know, but the viewers don't know. Originally, where are you from?
Before Canada or in
Well,
Canada?
we can do before Canada and then arriving to Canada, yes.
Well, originally I am from Lebanon. I came to Canada in 1970 and landed in Montreal and then ended up to be in Halifax. And lived in Halifax for 12, 13 years before coming to London.
Now, were you an active member in Halifax with the Muslim community, or?
Actually, it was very interesting and a coincidence that actually arrived in Halifax at a time when the community was struggling to build the first mosque. And they had a certain limited budget, but the architect they hired had big plans, and the documents he prepared for the building of the mosque ended up to be too expensive to materialize, so they didn't build it. And when I arrived, I am an engineer, I'm not an architect. They asked me, "Can you build a mosque for us?" It was actually my first meeting at one of the Eid gatherings. And I said, "I can, I'll try." And that's how I got involved. I did the drawings and supervised the construction of the first mosque in Halifax, Dartmouth area.
How many Muslims were there at that time?
Probably 15, 20 families in Halifax, Dartmouth area.
So it was very small.
Very small community, yes.
Okay.
In the surrounding area, on Eid day, you will get probably 50 families.
And you left from Nova Scotia to, I assume, come to London?
Before I left Nova Scotia and I went to Saudi Arabia on a contract for 3 years, an engineering contract. And then I came back to Nova Scotia, spent another 3 or 4 years. And during those 3 years, or at the end of the 3 years, we came to visit some friends in London here, the Kadri family. Mm-hmm. And I fell in love with the city and the community in London, and we very quickly, agreed that this is the place where we want to raise our children, and decided to move. So I would be probably one of the few people who came to London by choice, not because of the job or because of family members who brought you here. I chose to come to London because of London itself and the community in London. So I left my job and didn't even have a position here. I came to London unemployed. And but alhamdulillah, never looked for a job. So got involved with the community here, and here we are.
With that big difference, how was that for your family? To come into an environment that was first, the khutbahs, the understanding was all in English, but like very easy understanding. And then coming here, it was all Arabic. and whereas you're the only one that would understand Arabic.
It was very hard on the children. I remember the first Jum'ah, I took the boys with me to the mosque on Oxford Street, and they were sitting on both my sides. Funny enough that they constantly would say, "What is he saying? What is he saying?" Because they do not understand Arabic, especially in the khutbah, you know, and the Imam spoke Arabic only. So it was affecting my attention to the khutbah, as well as they're not understanding anything. So basically it was very difficult to convince them to go again. And it became a chore, while comparing to Halifax, Sunday time, it was fun, you know, for the kids to go, because they had friends and they had teachers who spoke and communicated with them in the same language they understand. So it was very obvious that we really needed a second language at our institutions.
Mm-hmm. Is that safe to assume that that's when the concept of having the Islamic Center come into play, or having another institution come into play? Because at that time we only had the masjid.
And an incident that happened, everybody knows the history of Oxford Street. At that time, there was some tension between the brothers, and there was some, I would say, confrontation. And as a result of that, a group of community members felt that it's time to look at what other choices do we have.
Okay, Amu, thank you very much. Hold on to that thought. We're just going to take a small little break, and we'll be back after a few minutes. Welcome back. As you all know, we're going to continue our talk with Amu Hisham, and as we left off, we're just starting to find out one of the reasons behind the view of the Islamic Center. So Amu, I would like you to continue on after the incident. What happened? What was the implementation? Who was involved? And how did it grow to become the center that it is now?
Well, after that confrontation that happened, I mean, I wasn't involved in the confrontation other than witnessed the outcome of it. But several other brothers felt that it's time to get together and look at the options. So we started meeting very casually at the mall. We had rented a conference room there, and started meeting weekly to determine what are the options, what can we do. And we had a lot of ideas, but initially we thought maybe we should start Sunday gathering, Sunday lectures. So we got Brother or Dr. Munir Al-Qasim to take care of that, and we rented the auditorium at Fanshawe College and started weekly gathering there on Sunday. And that's really how the initial sort of step by this small group of people to do something and make a change.
Mm-hmm.
From there on, it started basically, look, we need to do something more permanent. We can't keep going to Fanshawe every weekend. So we started looking for options, whether we build, we looked for land, or do we buy a property. And the same group of brothers who started meeting in the mall at that time, we decided to form an association or a group, and elected at that time Brother Hani Shawshar as the first president of that group. But the Islamic Center wasn't in the picture at that time. It was basically the person to lead the group and manage it. And then after Hani, Brother Yahya Amara was the president. And then after him, they asked me to chair that group, and which I was glad to do. I'm not sure really whether that took maybe a year or something around that time, a year and a half between the Fanshawe and the meetings casually. Then one of the brothers came up with the idea of, let's focus on buying a property. And Hani Shawshar spotted this building particularly was on the market for sale, and but it was too expensive for any of us to be able to buy it. So it was really strange, but I guess Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to help us get here where we started. And every step we took, it materialized so fast, both from the financial side as well as the option to buy the building. And that by itself is a very interesting story of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala planned it for us, so that we end up here. The prime mover behind buying the building, when the building was identified as being available, was Brother Qadri Mustafa, bless his soul. And he definitely felt that we should buy it. And he really went around the community members soliciting funds and loans and so on, and donations. Unfortunately, he is no longer with us, but he also passed before we bought the building. So we always refer to him as being the man behind the dream, but I'm sure he knows we were successful. The very interesting part of the success of behind buying the center, this building was on the market for a lot more money than what we could afford. And Brother Hani Shawshar and I talked about it, and he said, well, let's make an offer. So we signed an offer, both him and I, as joint trustees. And we put an offer that is almost half the price. The building was owned by General Motors, and it was abandoned. Basically, they moved somewhere else. But the person who is willing to sign this offer or accept it said, look, this is a ridiculous offer, I can't deal with it. So he sent it to New York. The person that received the offer in New York happened to be sitting across the table from the General Motors dealer in Kuwait, who is a resident of London, and he is Brother Amin Qadri. So this man asked them, you know, these two guys from London are buying our building, but they're offering such a little price for it. And do you know them? So Amin said, who are they? He said, well, one guy is named Hani Shawshar, another is Hisham Slim. He says, well, Hani is my uncle. Give it to them. They want to build a mosque.
That was it.
That was it. The guy said, okay. He added a few thousand on the offer and signed it. And the second day we got the offer accepted. We couldn't believe it. I mean, we literally took, almost half the price off when we signed the deal. And alhamdulillah, we got it. And the building was in such a bad shape from the cleanliness point of view that we spent a week cleaning it up. And within 1 week, we held prayers. And the first person who walked in and called the adhan, I would still remember that incident. It was Brother Ibrahim, and I can't pronounce his name very well. Sister Asma Mizraki's father.
Okay.
And he read the adhan in the prayer hall that we have now, because it used to be actually a lecture room for the General Motors. And alhamdulillah, from there on, it never stopped. The lecture series continued. It was very popular. I remember the hallways and the lecture were standing room. The young people particularly were very interested, primarily because of the language, because we spoke English. The second factor is that we, from day one, established an open policy here. We said, this is a mosque for people who want to learn. We don't expect people who walk in, they already know everything. And because of that, we're not going to put rules and conditions on them. So anybody who's willing to come and listen and learn is welcome. We never ask you, are you Muslim or not? We never ask you, what sect are you? You're welcome to come and listen. And if you respect the rules, you're welcome. And that's how it started.
So how was the reception, I guess I would say, with the young people for a khutbah, like a Jummah prayer to happen, and the khutbah would be in Arabic and English? How was it accepted by the people who came here, like the congregation?
So the communication was obviously two ways. It wasn't really, Arabic only.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we started Sunday school and teaching them Arabic from day one, because we believe that the kids should learn Arabic so that they can understand and their own religion. When you read the Quran, you should understand what you're reading. But to teach them Islam generally, we cannot wait until they learn Arabic. So we have to get them to understand their religion with the language that they can understand best. And most of our kids, our second generation Canadians, are English speaking. So not only that, but the majority of Muslims in the world are non-Arabs.
Right,
So
yeah.
this is a fact, and we can't deny that you really need to speak the language of the people, and then teach them religion, not the other way around. Don't
Right.
teach, focus on Arabic first.
Okay, well, as you know, we're going to be celebrating our 20 years in the next couple of months. How have you seen the center grow?
Our community here grew pretty fast. The mosque, the center here grew fast. I mean, London has several mosques as well.
Yes,
after we started here. But even the center's activities here, alhamdulillah, is doing very well. The growth is very noticeable. I can just give you an idea. When we first started, I think we were around 40 families that were registered as members, or what we call sustaining members. Now we have in excess of 300, and the activities of the center has increased. We've been very successful in the Sunday school. Now we don't call it Sunday school anymore. Because we have Saturday.
It's the weekend school now, yes. Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, we have Saturday and Sunday because of the number of children available or wanting to join is more than the space we have, so we divided it between the 2 days. We have halaqas. We also starting hafidh on I think Thursdays. It's going to be on Thursdays, inshallah, for kids and adults, for those who want to do hafidh. There are halaqa, the imam that's doing regularly on Fridays as a potluck gathering with the imam. The Sunday lectures sort of fell in between the cracks with all the other activities, but inshallah we have it on target to come back again, and we'll be starting that soon.
Mm-hmm. So there's been quite an amount of growth, not only in terms of attendance, but also in terms of programming as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have now a full-time imam, Imam Jamal Talib, and we also have 2 staff members, one full-time, one part-time. And also something that I didn't mention, the center has grown physically, but also not physically in renovating the facility itself, but we have purchased the land next door to us, which is another 5 acres, which is being now built as a parking lot, a soccer field, and a picnic ground. And we are putting a permanent basketball field in the back of the building where the existing asphalt is now. And that will be done, inshallah, this summer.
Inshallah.
So we are focusing on attracting some activities for the youth, for the younger generations, to come and enjoy their company of each other, in sports activity as well as religion.
Great, great. What's been the most memorable change for you in terms of like the center, not only from a physical perspective, but also from a spiritual perspective?
I remember one little incident, and this is memorable. I was in the hall on Sunday. We just opened for the school, and the kids start coming in. And there was one 5-year-old standing with his mom, and he saw one other child walking through the door. He ran to the door with open arms, hugged them, and he said, "I missed you," because he hadn't seen him for a week. And to me, I remember that so well, because that speaks for what the center was for. Those kids are now young men, and I'm sure those are still friends. That by itself is a fantastic, good feeling.
Thank you very much for joining us. You have been a very integral part, not only with the founding of the center, but even the building of the center. I've seen you many times in between the skeletons of the drywall and the planning and so forth, and happy 20th anniversary.
Thank you very much. We are actually very excited about the celebration.
Thank you very much for joining us. This has been The Muslim View, and we hope to see you at the Islamic Center's 20th anniversary on May 3rd. Assalamu alaikum.